All right, let's have a look here. And my boy Chigs, I see you, brother. I see you. I've got Felix on. I know you're at work, Felix. Thanks for joining, bro. My homegirl Naomi, I see you. Who else we got on here? Who's Catch Pips Not Feelings? I don't know who that is. Tell me who you are. I'm not sure who that is. I see Lisa. Rayshawn. How you doing, brother? Cheeks. Who else we got on? I see you, Tasha. Welcome, everyone. If I've missed you, Angelina, I see you. Hey, Ange. Welcome. So, for those of you that are new, this is our weekly team training where we go through some mindset stuff. We go through some trading tips. We also go through those that are building a team, some quick building tips. And also what we'll do is we have our, at the end of the call, we have any successes that we've had this week, as well as this call, we've got a £100 giveaway as well. So I like to start by saying that I like to finish on time, if not before on time. So we're going to get straight in and get cracking. So let's have a look at the first one, relationship techniques. So when we're thinking about relationship techniques, what do we mean by relationship techniques? Let me see if I can find this chat box. For some reason, my chat box has disappeared. Let's have a look here. Here we go. It's back again. All right. Cool. Everyone can see me. So when we're talking about relationship techniques, what do I mean by relationship techniques? And just have a chat in the chat box. Let me know what you think. What are relationship techniques? How well we communicate. I love that, Kim. Straight in there. How well we communicate. What else? What are relationship techniques? What do we think that term actually means? Relationship techniques. See if anybody else comes in there. Whilst I'm waiting for some of the answers to come through, for those of you that are new, welcome to Team Nikos. Nikos Empire is our group that we have created, and Nikos means victorious. So if you haven't heard of the word before, it's a Greek word that means victorious. And when I picked the word Nikos, it was specifically because we know that this journey is a battle. Trading is not easy. Building a team is not easy. So we know that there's going to come ups and downs. We know that things are not going to be perfect. But what we do know is with Nikos, meaning victory, victorious, we will have the victory as long as we continue, as long as we don't give up, as long as we continue to put one step in front of the other, we will have victory. So that's where the term or the name or the word Nikos derived from. So let's have a look. We've got relating to people, having a proper rapport or trust, building friendship, partnership, listening effectively, all of those above. All of those above. And I'm going to give you a few relationship techniques. And this can be not just for building a team, but just how we treat each other, how we connect with each other. And building a relationship is the first part before you can even get someone to join your team, or before you can even, work together. Chigs, you're funny. Before you can even work together or anything like that, you need to have some good relationship techniques. Very, very important. Mutual respect. I love that one. Definitely respect comes in there. So the first relationship technique that I'm going to give you, and I hope you've all got your pens or pads or whatever, is communication. Communication is one of the first relationship techniques that we have. What is communication and why is communication so important? Talk to me in the chat box. What have we got? What is communication and why is communication important? And I promise you, we'll tie this all up afterwards so it will make perfect sense where we're going with this. We want to be unleashed. This call is all about being unleashed. maximizing our full potential, taking in as much information that we need in order to level up. So to be clear on what's needed keeps the relationship going. I like that. They sometimes say if there's no communication in a relationship, no matter what relationship, it's very hard to have a successful relationship without good communication. Have to have clarity there. You know, I always talk about clarity. People can understand each other and the messages you want to get across. Yes, good communication is very, very important. And how many times can communication get a bit crossed, or wires get a bit crossed if the communication lines are not as effective? So communication is important. And as they keep coming in, yes, I love that, good foundation. As they keep coming in, I'll keep referring to them. But communication is very, very important. And there's loads of different types of way we can communicate. And especially for us in our teams, the main way that we seem to communicate at the moment is via WhatsApp, through the good old text messaging, non-verbal but written form. So we have the form of the WhatsApp message. One of the forms that I absolutely love, which seems to be, I suppose, something of the past these days, is actually talking, picking up the phone and speaking to someone, or looking at them face to face and having a face to face conversation. That is also a way of communication. We have emails. We also have, back in the day, the little birdie that used to take the notes across town. What other communication forms do we have? We have social media. What other communication? Anyone think of any other forms of communication? Written letter. What else? Telegram. What other communication? Sign language. Other ways we can communicate. Body language. What other ways can we communicate? Now, depending on what message you want to get across, should depend on what type of communication that you use. So, for example, when I used to work in the corporate world, one of the things that would come up maybe is redundancy. Now, would it be appropriate to be texting someone that they've been made redundant? Just drop me in the chat box. Communication, the eyes your mum gives when you mess up. Love that one. Definitely not. I'm seeing all the no's in the chat box. Fantastic. Definitely not the right form of communication. If there was a death in the family, would it be the right communication to send an email, for example? Would it be appropriate? I see some no's coming along. Now, communication can definitely be crossed depending on the type of communication that you have. So delivering certain messages may be better done by telephone, better by picking up the phone and having that communication. How many times, it doesn't even have to be in business, but how many times could you be messaging a partner or a friend and the communication gets lost because we're so used to texting, we don't actually pick up the phone? It could even be you're inviting someone to an event, but they don't get the gist of it. So you're texting and they don't even respond because they think it's one of those copy and paste messages. So depending on the importance, depending on what that message actually means, will depend on how you communicate with the person who you're speaking to. If it was just a general broadcast, then fantastic. If you were just giving information, then again, fantastic. But it's very important and vital that we choose the right form of communication to deliver the right message in order to get the appropriate response. And sometimes you may see that I may call some of you instead of doing the text, especially if you're driving. So talking about communication as well, the appropriate form of communication depending on the situation. So if you want to get a message across quite quickly, you might leave a voice note. You might do a voicemail. Again, find the appropriate communication depending on what circumstance you would be doing. So drop in the chat box. We'll just run a few scenarios. You tell me what type of communication you think will be appropriate for the following. So I'm just going to throw out a few random. A change of time for a meetup. So you've agreed to meet someone, but you've been delayed and you want to do, just say, I'm running late, I'll be about 10 minutes. What type of communication would be appropriate? So we've got text, call, text, call, text, call, 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 text or call, voice note, be appropriate, fantastic. What about a death in the family? So there's been a death in the family. What do we say to that? We're getting loads of calls. In person, sometimes in person, face-to-face. Yep, face-to-face. Visit, we're seeing loads of face-to-face there. You wouldn't really want to deliver that message, especially with someone really close, via text for sure, and maybe a phone call might be a little bit inappropriate. What about an invite? So you're inviting someone somewhere very important where they might have to dress up, they might have to meet somebody. You're inviting someone to come to maybe a gala or a dinner or something, high end. What do we think to that? Phone call, video chat. Yeah, video chat, I like that. Cool. I think we all get the drift of it. So one of the key actions that I want you to take from this specific relationship technique is to really think about the type of communication that you do depending on the message that you're trying to get across. Very, very important, because I'll give you an example. A text message can be misstrued, especially if you put loads of exclamation marks at the end, or I try to soften things with an emoji sometimes. Communication can be really, really tricky. We could speak for years about communication, but just really take that moment and that time to think about the type and style of communication that you're going to make prior to doing that, because it's very, very easy just to slip into text mode all the time, just because of convenience and time, etc., etc. So communication. The second relationship technique that we have is care. So it's really an interesting one. How do you show that you care? Because caring is one of those things that help to build a relationship. If somebody feels that you care about them, that will bring the relationship closer. As the other way around, if someone feels that you don't care about them, that could destroy the relationship. So how do you show that you care? So drop some things in that chat box for me. What sort of things do you show that you care? Keeping in touch with them, yes. So following up with that person, definitely. What else do we have? How do you show that you care? Invite them out for a drink. Yep, I like that. Invite out for a meal, genuinely checking how they are, encouragement, spending time. Yep, all those stuff. Ask about their well-being. Also, I'll put this to you, sending flowers. I'll put it to you that to show someone that you care is also to remember what they've said to you. So if somebody says it's their birthday on X day and you actually remember their birthday and you message them on that day, that will show that you care. If someone said to you that they've got an exam coming up or they're studying, and you follow up with them to say to them, hey, how you doing? How's it going? That will show that you care. When was the last time that you, and also it can also be the reverse. If someone says something to you and you completely forget about it and you don't message them, or there was a funeral or there was something drastic happening in their life, but you didn't remember to message and say, thinking about you, Janet's just put it in there, thinking about you, how's it going today? Or, wishing you well for your exams. How do you show someone that you care? And this could be personally or in business. Now, especially when you've got a large team like I do, a team of over 100 plus 100 chair ladies, that is not an easy thing to do. So what are some of the tips that we can do in order to make sure that we remember to follow up with people about things that are important to them, things that we know that we should be checking in with them to show them that we care? What kind of things can we do? Especially when you've got a busy life, you've got so many things to do. Note it down. Diary appointments, send a reminder to yourself. You know, these things are so standard, but we don't do them because sometimes we even think that's such a small task. Like, why should I put in my phone, remember to call Mickey because he's got, you know, his exams coming up, and just check in with him to make sure that he's doing okay? Surely if I care, I'd remember anyway. No. If you care enough, you will set yourself a reminder. There's no way you're going to remember every single thing. And this way, you become memory independent. Set yourself reminders, write diary notes, set yourself an alarm to show that person that you actually do care. You care enough. Who cares if you set an alarm? The fact that you've said it to them means that you actually remembered it to say that you care about that person. Even if you set an alarm, it was important enough for you to set that alarm. Showing that you care is so, so important. You know, so important to show that you care. These are all important factors when building relationships. Now, the next relationship technique is positive expectations and positive responses. Positive expectations and positive responses. So what do I mean by that? So if somebody says that they're looking to do something or they're interested in something, it's always about having that positive outlook, having a positive expectation to what that person says. That will help you to build a relationship. So especially when you're speaking to someone and they say, oh, what's your goal? Or what are you going to do this week? And they turn around and say, oh, you know, I'm actually, I've applied for a college. I'm just waiting for some results. And you turn around and say, oh, I believe in you. I think you'll definitely get in. Having that positive outlook on that person's life will help to build a relationship with them because they feel that you believe in them. If someone turns around and says to you, you know, I'm trying to build this thing and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it, giving them that encouragement, saying, yeah, you know, you've done it before. I know definitely for sure you can do that. I'm pretty sure you can do it. You know, someone turns around and says, oh, I want to be P1000 by the end of the year, or I want to be chairman by the end of the year, and you start bursting out laughing. By the end of the year, you're a joker. That's not going to help build relationships. What is going to help build relationships is good for you. You know, go for it. I think you definitely have the capabilities. So having a positive outlook on someone's life is definitely one of the relationship techniques. So what I want you to do is have a think about the relationship techniques that I've mentioned today. We've got good communication, we've got care, we've got positive expectations and outlooks. And we're going to go through some more next week in regards to the communication. There's actually 5 of them. Actually, I'm going to go through one more, which is trust. So trust is one of those things I bang on about all the time. You know, they talk about trust and they say when you have trust, when you don't have trust, you have nothing. Trust, yes, Sabrina, trust is so essential when it comes to relationship building and building relationships. You know, trust is something that can take years and years and years to build up and only seconds to break. How many of us have had situations where you've lost trust in someone? It doesn't have to be in business. It could be trust in business. It could be trust in relationships. It could be trust in friendships, family. Trust is vital. If you don't have trust, you have absolutely nothing. So how do you build trust? What are the 3 components to trust? And I've talked about this many times for those that have been on the call with me before. What are the 3 things that are vital when it comes to building trust with either somebody, a company, or even a group of people? Anybody remember? Let's see if anyone has been taking notes or remember these things. I've got someone covering their face. Is that you, Sabrina? You should know this. So we've got consistency, being consistent with what you do. If you're somebody who is consistent to, you know, your word, you're consistent to, if you say you're going to do something, you'll do it. If you're consistent, what does consistency mean? Consistent. If your character is consistent. You know, you're not today, you know, being open and honest, and then tomorrow you're chatting about people behind their backs. Be consistent, being consistent. And sometimes your consistency can work for you and it can work against you. So if you're consistently late, people associate that with your brand. And they'll be like, oh, they'll be there. They're just late, just running late. So being consistent is so vital to building trust. Honesty. That goes into the second one, Tasha, credibility. How credible are you? You know, people build trust if you're an expert at what you do. Oh, I trust his advice because he's always, you know, he always gives solid advice. Oh, I trust him because he's always honest. Your credibility, what do you stand for? Who are you? You know, what do people, when people talk about you behind your back, what do they say? What are the things you want people to say about you behind your back? And if that's the case, what traits are you doing to get those comments? Self-discipline, definitely. Honesty, I'm seeing those. So your credibility is so important. You know, are you credible in your field? If you're a doctor, you would have had to go through some, you know, exams and accreditations in order to become a doctor. What is it that you have to do in order to become credible? Are there anything that you need to do to improve your credibility? Sometimes some people are known just to be liars all the time. So anything they say, nobody believes them. The boy that cried wolf. So how do you turn around and build that trust? Consistency, credibility, and a little bit of revealing, self-disclosure. And that doesn't mean physically. I know people start taking their clothes off. But this is about personal testimony. You know, sometimes when you speak to someone and say, you know, I felt that way too. That's happened to me before, or this has happened to me before. Sometimes you speak to people and they're the ones that listen to your business all the time and they never share their business with you. That doesn't help to build the trust. When someone shares a little bit about themselves, a bit of personal stuff about themselves, that enables you to build that trust with them, which ultimately helps to build the relationship. So some of these things, you know, we need to understand about, you know, what do I personally need to do? It's all about taking ownership of yourself. What do I personally need to do in order to really enhance my relationship building? What do I need to do with my communication? Am I doing the right form of communication? Am I clear in my communication? Can my communication come across rude? You know, I had someone message me at 4 a.m. one point saying, Nikki, you better do X, Y, Z. I was like, sorry, I better do what? You better not be messaging me at 4 o'clock telling me I better do this. But they didn't mean it like that. But it can be read that way. And luckily I know that person, so I knew that it wasn't meant like that. But I gave the feedback and said, just be mindful how you message sometimes because, you know, you better jump on this trade. Yeah, I normally get that type of call from Des sometimes. Jump on this trade. But just be mindful of your communication, mindful how you communicate with others because it can be misconstrued. And then, you know, building trust. What do you personally need to do? Do you need to make sure you're on time more so that, you know, people trust that you're going to arrive on time? You know, I used to have, well, I still got a friend and I tell her all the time, an hour before the time, because I don't trust she's going to get there on time. And one day she actually did get there on time and she had to wait an hour for everyone else to get there. And I said to her, it's because you're always late. So I had to make sure that you were on time. So what do you need to do to really enhance your trust from people? What do you need to do to make sure that people trust you? Is it your credibility? Do you need to start doing trades? Are you a leader that's telling people to trade, telling people to pay their subscription, but yet you don't do it yourself? Sorry, was that shady? But what do we need to do to enhance our trust? Trust is so important. Do you share personal information? And also be careful of the information that you do share, because there is parts of you that you want to share because that will enhance your credibility and it will enhance your, you know, your relationship with that person. But some of the things you may share could actually damage your credibility. Imagine you're talking to someone in your team and you're saying, oh yeah, I never trade. I've never traded, but you should trade. One is honest and then they're silly. So we need to make sure that what we're doing is obviously enhancing our business as well as building those relationships. So I want you to just take some time and really think about what you can do, what you can take from building relationships in order to bring that to the next level. Where is it that you can, you know, really enhance yourself to ensure that you are consistent, credible, and also have a bit of personality and personal disclosure when you're building trust? Just drop me, if you're brave enough, just drop me something in the chat box just to let me know that you've taken one thing that you know you need to improve on, or one thing that you feel like, you know, you can improve. If you're happy to share, just drop something in there. It could be personal, business, doesn't matter. One thing that you're going to do to really help secure those relationships, build relationships a bit more. It could be in the communication angle, could be in the trust angle, and just drop down where it is in there. Keeping in touch, Sabrina. What part is that? Is that your communication? Is that also building trust? It could be as well. Communicating more. Encouraging my team, both. Okay, yeah. What else can we do? And make it an action to take away. So sometimes we say the word communication, but what does it mean? You know, what do you do to really push yourself to that next level? You know, and put a note down. If it means, you know, speak to someone rather than text, say speak to someone rather than text. Oh, look, Tasha's just said that. If it is, you know, less, what do you need to do less of? Less texting. Or it could be, you know, being more consistent with attitude. You could be nice to one person because you think they're going to sign up, but then someone who doesn't sign up, you just kiss your teeth and, like, you know, call me back when you're ready, bro. Still be consistent. Still be the helpful person that you want your branding to be like. Just because someone doesn't buy from you today doesn't mean it's always a no. Where else do we need to? So I'm seeing a lot of the communication parts on there as well. So that is pretty much it for the, that's the biggest part of the relationship techniques part. But just remember, your relationship techniques affect everything else. So next week when we start talking about, setting some real goals for yourself and how you can really make that money, I want you to really remember that relationship techniques is the hub of everything. Everything that you do revolves around your relationships. So if you get the relationship angle wrong, nothing else is going to work. We have to work together. You know, how do you treat people you need nothing from? If you don't need anything from them, how do you treat them? What is it that you can do better in order to make sure that your branding remains the same, remains consistent, no matter who it is? You know, sometimes, especially those people that are, in church, you see how some people treat the pastor. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't give reverence or give respect to your pastor, but then they treat other people like they're nothing because the pastor has the stature. Even the cleaner deserves the respect. Even the road sweeper deserves the respect. We all deserve respect. We all deserve to be treated accordingly. So please ensure that you take action on one of the things that you feel that you can do to really improve your relationship techniques. Do you need to set any alarms on your phone? So I give you a moment to just reflect on that. You might want to write a note down, and I'm going to share my screen in a moment and try to see if I can get up the harmonic scanner. So drop in the chat box. Let me know if what I've showed you so far is helpful. Let me know what you got from that part of the training. While I get up my harmonic scanner. And I don't know if anything's come up, but we're literally going to do a 5-minute whistle-stop tour on charting and also on the scalping strategy, because that's what we did at Traders Tuesdays this week. So I'm going to show you just a quick tip, really, really quick, if this loads up, on when to enter the trade when you're scalping. If not, I'm going to do it on TradingView. Let's have a look. That comes up. Let me take a quick look at the chat box. Good reminder, definitely not reflecting. Definitely got me reflecting. Excellent. Got you there. I'm trying to load it up, Kimmy. Once it's loaded, then I'll share it, but it's not loading at the moment, which is a little bit frustrating. So as soon as I get it loaded, I will share it. Now, I'm sure the basic relationship techniques that I've shared is not new to any of us, but sometimes it's the basic stuff that we forget, because it's not rocket science. None of the stuff that I'm going to share on any of these calls are going to be reinventing the wheel, or even, I'm not going to be creating new things that you've never heard of. But remember, in order to build that trust, we have to be consistent. So it's just a reminder of consistency. Are we consistent on some of these things? Are we doing it some days and not doing it all the time? So really remember, and a lot of the time we say to ourselves, oh yeah, I know this, I used to do this, but are you doing it all the time? Are you doing it when it's required? Are you doing it when you're feeling stressed? Are you doing it when you're in a heated moment? Right, so this thing is definitely not loading, which is annoying. I thought it was. So while we're doing that, we're going to move on. Whilst that's loading, we will move on to the second to last bit on the agenda, which is the good news and successes. So drop in the chat box if you want to nominate anyone for good news and successes. Whilst we are waiting, I will start. Let's see if he's on. We have Iggy on the call who said yes, so we want to welcome him. He joined a couple of days ago, and great successes I've seen. Was not a couple of days ago, it's only yesterday, but it feels like a couple of days ago. He's been smashing the MetaTrader 4 into pieces. I've never seen so many blues. The poor man didn't even sleep last night. He just trading and had to catch up on some sleep. So we say well done to Iggy on